Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. Today, we're here to talk yet again, about Mephisto and Dark Dimension 7. Now, some of you may have seen my videos from last week when I was talking in more detail, specifically around numbers related to Dark Dimension 7. I guess you could call this a little bit of a part 3 video. But really, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what you should be doing if you want to save months and months of time towards your Dark Dimension 7 chase. And really, a lot of people have asked me, like, is it worth kind of trying to progress faster towards Dark Dimension 7? And I honestly have to say, yes, it is, to do what you can to push a little bit faster. Because, I was looking back and I remember the days when people got early scrolls. And when I mean early, I mean like the first 2,000 people. Because when people got Super Scroll, it was basically impossible to beat them in Arena, and it was impossible to beat them in Cosmic Crucible, to the point where, like, if they had that I don't remember if this was actually pre-exhaust, but it was almost impossible to beat the runes that they had on defense with Super Scroll. If they had Super Scroll, they won. And I honestly think that we're moving to a point where this will be the case for Mephisto as well, both for Arena and for Cosmic Crucible, that if you care about any of these two game modes, getting him unlocked that much sooner is really going to help. And I'm going to try and help you guys and make you understand how this store is actually going to make a significant difference in terms of how fast that you're going to get there. And you'd be surprised, or not maybe, that it's going to shave off months and months and months of time towards your Dark Dimension 7 progress. We're going to take a look at all of this here in today's video. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Yeah, okay, I'm back at the supply store where I just left off. But I'm going to tell you what I am buying every store reset, and I'm going to show you right now because I'm going to buy it, and then we're going to go to my math sheets and we're going to talk about exactly why I'm buying these things. So, minis? Yep. Minis? Yep. Origin gear pieces. Laser torches? Yeah. Experimental formula. Yes, but only because there's two characters. So for any character that you're only planning, especially if you build your own Dark Dimension 7 group of 25 characters, and there's only like one unique listed for that those characters that you're planning on doing, I wouldn't buy them. Two or more, I would consider buying some. So for this, I am going to buy, actually I have 5 already for Experimental Formula, because I'm planning on taking Gwenum, and she's hopefully going to be farmable within the next month or so as well. So looking forward to that. And so she's going to take that. Palladium, nope, because I don't plan on taking any of those characters. And Cytoplasms, I don't think so. Actually, you know what? Screw it. We'll just grab it. So I'm going to tell you why certain Origin pieces are worth buying and some you don't need to consider as much. Now, did I buy pretty much everything in the store? I sure did. How much did I just spend? I spent 2 million gold in one reset. That is a lot. But we're going to kind of take this over now to my Excel sheet and show you exactly why. Now, there's a few of these things on this Excel sheet that you might have seen before. This part over here, this is what I've called my Dark Dimension 7 fantasy team. This is like, if I was going to go in today, these are the characters that I would take. It's not really that important. The specifics of the characters, not really that important, but it kind of informs the other side of the table that we're going to be looking at. These are just basically 25 characters and all of the gear that's required for them. The TLDR is that it's very expensive in the wide scheme of how much gold that you would need to spend if you bought everything, like not including raids. If you literally bought everything from the store, it would be like 2.5 billion gold, which is a lot, right? But if you caught my other videos, that you are actually also getting a lot of gold value per day and per month through the raids. So I'm just going to recap this part here, which was in another video about scenario A, which is, if you're doing incursion 2, difficulty 3, 60% every single day, you're getting about 130 million gold worth of value every month. This comes in about 100, it's about 130 million gold per month per 28-day cycle from the raids. So this is your red orbs that you're going to be getting, and your armory 19 orbs combined is worth about this much per 28 days, which is a lot, right? Like, this is actually roughly about how much gold you get per month in the game. We're sitting at around 120 million gold per month, free to play. if you're not buying passes. If you're buying strike passes or RTA passes, you're going to get more. And it doesn't include some of the events, which do occasionally have gold, especially I think the alliance-based milestones do have gold in them as well. So you'll get a little bit more there. Now, if you were to spend 2 million gold a day, which I just did in one reset, then it's going to take you about 13 months or so based on the amount of stuff you need right now to get to Dark Dimension 7. Now, you're probably wondering, Boilon, like my expectations are for heavy free-to-play players that are in upper tier raids. I'm expecting it still to be about 8 or 9 months. And yes, that's less than the 13 months here because I do believe that they're going to open it up to other game modes eventually, other stores eventually, Cosmic Crucible War, Battle World possibly within the next 6 months. But I think that this is basically where all we're getting for the next at least 3 to 4. We could get an incursion raid 3, which will improve the number, this number here, basically the 28-day raid gold total in terms of red gear. That could go up with the new incursion raid 3, but this is what we got for just now, right? And so for sake of argument, when it comes to spending gold, I just want to put this into perspective. So if you spend 2 million gold a day and you do what I just said in raids, then you're looking at about 184 million gold worth of red gear per 28 days. Okay. And then with knowing that, it would take about 13 and a half months. Now, if you were to say if you were not to spend gold at all, just take a look at what changes with this number, the 13.5 million. It goes up to 19.5 months. So that 2 million gold a day is worth about 6 months of red gear. That is crazy when you think about it like that, right? Now, let's just see what happens if you were to double that. Let's say instead of 2 million gold a day, you're spending 4 million gold a day, which sounds absolutely crazy, right? But, it's very easy to spend gold in the supply store. Now, what that means, obviously, is it's going to be less gold for you to spend towards levels. I think that once you get your main characters up to 100, you're going to want to throttle how many characters you actually take to 100 because it's going to be very expensive of an endeavor. But I do strongly believe that Mephisto is very well worth diverting your gold more into the supply store because if you can get ahead by like 3 to 6 months, that's insane, right? Like Arena and Cosmic Crucible. So let's double this from 2 to 4 million. You're now shaving off an additional 3 months. Which is a lot, right? And I get it. 112 million. That's pretty unreasonable. So let's say 3 million gold a day, right? So let's say we're improving that a little bit. Even that, we took that from 13.5 months to about 11.7. So almost 2 months of time by improving your gold spending per day from 2 million gold a day to 3 million gold a day on red gear specifically. Okay, that's a lot. Even 2 months of time is a lot, right? So it just shows that spending gold in the supply store towards red gear is so important. Like I can't stress this part enough. Like if you don't do this, you are going to be very far behind in the grand scheme of things towards Mephisto. And maybe that's me trying to make it sound like this is FOMO, right? Like if you don't do it, you're just going to take forever. It will, it will take you a lot longer. You don't have to do it this way, but I know that there's a lot of people out there who are competitive in the top 3%, let's say top 5% of the player base, who do want some degree of competition or competing and, having shiny toys, whatever you want to call it, and so you're going to need to put money towards these items if you want to get there a little bit faster. And 2 months in the grand scheme of things is a lot of time, both in arena power cores and also in Cosmic Crucible ratings, right? And that gets you more diamonds, of course, and so on and so forth. And I think just having a single OP character like we saw with Super Scroll back in the day when he first was starting to become available, it made a world of difference in terms of getting him. So that's why I'm pushing this a little bit harder than I used to in the past, because I didn't really care that much when it came to Apocalypse. I don't know why. Maybe because it was way more convoluted, and I actually do like Dark Dimension. And so I am pushing this a little bit harder. Now, I'm not necessarily doing 2 million gold a day. I don't know where I'm at. I'm probably somewhere in the 2 to 3 million gold a day range. My point is that it's really important to do. Now, for the second half of the video, I want to kind of pivot to my table over here. And this basically breaks down all of those characters that you saw over here on this side, but in terms of total gear required and where it comes from, like the breakdown of that, right? And so I have this from Origin 1, Origin 2, Origin 3. What is those? Those are, to show you a better example, because I was talking about cytoplasms, I actually forgot whether or not that's Origin 2 or 3. So Origin, let's take Apocalypse. So Origin 1, it's these pieces over here. This is Origin 1. The X genes are Origin 1. Cytoplasms are Origin 2, and the metabolic enhancers are Origin 3. Each character or each origin has these because you need more of Origin 1, a little bit less of Origin 2, and a little bit less more of Origin 3. So the most priority buys, that was bad English. The best priority buys are going to be the Origin 1 pieces, these X genes. The isomers, I believe they are for bio, and the spiky balls for tech, like those kind of things. Those are going to be your priority purchases in the supply store because you're going to need a lot more of them. You need a grand total. I added all 25 characters and all of the items that they need across the board in this table here. And you need 6,000 of those Origin 1 pieces, and that's across all 5 of them because the characters that I chose. 5,100 for Origin 2 and 4,000 or so for Origin 3. So that's why you're going to need to buy a little bit more of Origin 1 from the supply store to make up, because the way the red orbs kind of drop all the stuff, you're going to end up needing more of Origin 1 than the rest of them. So if you're going to buy anything from the Origin side of things in the supply store, it should be Origin 1, maybe Origin 2. I don't know if you necessarily need to do it the Origin 3 pieces. You might end up having enough anyways over the next 5 months, events, things like that anyways. So in terms of your priority from the supply store buys. Now next is red ABCs. What are red ABCs? Well, it's those pieces that you need for almost everything. These things here. Crimson basic catalyst parts. And I have 425 so far. Great. Okay, so how many do I need? I need 8,500 for all of my 25 characters. So how many when I'm 5% the way? Great, in like a week or so. That's not bad. But I have been buying them in the supply store. So across all 5 origins, I'm looking at about 8,500. This actually represents about 7.7% of the entirety of the gold cost for red gear. I kind of broke this down actually. You can see here the numbers on the bottom, basically what it represents. And we're going to get to where the big numbers are. And the rest of this is going to be other catalysts. So health, damage, resist, focus, armor. The biggest ones here are actually health and focus, and damage a little bit as well. Basically what I'm saying, don't buy resist or armor catalyst from the red store, from the supply store. You don't need it. You're going to get it as drops because you just don't need that many of them for characters because they're the least used across the board. So if you're going to buy any catalyst, I'd honestly focus on the red ABCs, but if you have extra gold to spend, I would do it on health, damage, and focus. You're always going to use them anyways. They're huge crunches in general. If you remember the teal category side of things, like there were times that if you upgraded enough that you would run low on. So that's something that I would consider. So yes to Origin 1, maybe to Origin 2, yes to red ABCs, and maybe to some of these other catalysts, and no to resist and armor. And that brings me to the most expensive stuff that red gear is. It's your minis, your mini 1, mini 2, and your uniques. Now, you're going to need about 1,500 rounding up of both of the minis for each of the origin pieces. So obviously that costs a lot, and every single gear piece requires 18 of each mini. I don't have a lot so far. I have like maybe half a dozen or so of each of them. And right now, actually, as we speak, there is an event milestone with Cosmic Ghost Rider. And if you get in the top 3%, you get 60 G19 minis, 30 for the Mystics. And that's a lot of gold. That's like, I think it was like something like 24 million gold worth of purchases. These cost 400,000 gold per buy. It's really expensive, but it is so important that you buy these because it represents combined about almost 54% of the entire cost of Dark Dimension 7. Which means that you need to do this, because if you don't do this, you are not going to get there, because it represents a huge percentage of the pie, right? And so you're not going to get this just by letting it drop in raids or whatever milestones and hope for the best. It's not going to happen that way. Okay, so you need to buy these. 54%. It's a lot. That's a big number, right? Okay, and it represents over 1 billion gold worth of potential cost. Obviously this is going to be brought down by your raids every single day. But in terms of the opportunity cost with your gold, yes, you're going to need to get these. Now, the uniques are quite interesting because we need 450 for 25 characters. And so, let's not talk about the actual specific items, things like Oz, whatever, but it represents 16% of the overall cost of Dark Dimension 7. And so should you buy them in the store? Maybe. The answer is maybe. It depends on how many characters that you plan to bring of a certain origin. So I'm going to show you my msf.gg inventory, and you can see some of my red stuff here. Now, specific things that I'm looking out for is crimson osmium or red osmium, because I do want to take probably as many as I can, but I might take Gambit, Nightcrawler, and Vol. If I can do all three, that would be amazing. I want to take at least two, but I would love to take all three of them. And so that means I need a lot of these. So I am looking out for these in the supply store. Experimental formula, there's two characters. I told you, Gwenum and a Green Goblin Classic. So I am looking out for some of this. So basically, if you're going to take two or more characters, I would buy some of them, yes. Alien Sports, I think Void Knight and Skrull. I don't think I'm taking anyone else there. Astral Energy, APOC, maybe Icarus, and maybe Sunspot as well. So we'll see. That's two, maybe three characters. So yes, these coveted ones, buy them. The rest of them, you don't need to. Why? Because every 10 red orbs that you're opening from the raids, which is you're basically getting 10 almost every day, I think, if you're running 2.3. And if you're running 2.2, you're pretty close to that. That means you're getting about 2 or 3 red uniques dropped every day. Randomly, albeit, but over the course of the expected time to get into Dark Dimension 7 and finish Dark Dimension 7, you'll be fine. Like, you probably won't even enter, honestly, for like the next 5 months in the first couple of nodes, maybe 4 months. And then the whole completion of it's going to be like close to 9 for most people, I think. 8 to 9 months. And so over that period of time, not only will you find it through maybe possibly through events, possibly through other stores, but you're going to get it through just the red orbs. Like it's gonna drop, in a range of ways, but you're not going to have to focus on this. Despite it being about 16% of the overall cost of Dark Dimension 7, it's not something that you really need to concern yourself with. So what's the TLDR? Where should you spend your gold? It's absolutely the minis. Like, you need to buy this. Like, it's just too big of a pie, too big of a piece of the pie. Over 50% of your cost is the minis and Origin 1 red ABCs. Those are the top priorities, in my opinion, because they represent, even though this represents a lower percentage, 7.7 for the red ABCs and a 5.5 for Origin 1s, I think it's just the quantity, the sheer quantity that you need in terms of numbers. You're going to need them. And the red ABCs are for everyone. So yeah, you absolutely need to make sure you have enough of those. So yes, it is going to be quite the endeavor, but hopefully I broke this down in a way that helped you understand basically how valuable spending gold really is in this store. Yes, it sucks, but if you want to get him like 2, 3, 4 months earlier than what you would have normally if you didn't spend the gold, then you need to do this. And it sucks because that means there's less gold for levels. It means that you might need to make some sacrifices on certain characters, which we'll allude to in other videos. When I talk about upcoming character releases, are they characters that you really and truly need, or should you put that gold towards other characters? That's another conversation for another video, though. So that's going to be the end of this one. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.